Hi everyone, hope you all are doing good. We will start off with Python strings today, okay? So let's get started. Yeah, I hope my screen is visible to all of you. Let me maximize that even a bit further. Okay, so what are Python strings? First, let's understand the definition, the standard definition that we have, okay? Python strings, what are these? Python strings are basically characters assigned to a variable wrapped in either single quote or double quote or sorry or triple quote. A triple quote you can also configure with double and and single, okay? So characters assigned to a variable wrapped in quotes basically are what we called strings, okay? So what are the example of a string? Let's say I take up a string called Python is a great programming language. And if I print A and if I print type of A, this is what? Class str. Str stands for string. Okay, clear everyone? Now we will get into multiple functionalities or use cases that we can do with the help of Python strings. But first, let's understand how we can access elements within a Python string. Okay, so let me make it a text call. Yep. Accessing a string element. Accessing a string element simply means that you have an entire string, which is basically a sentence, right? Containing of multiple words. You want to access something individually from this, okay? And how do you do that? You do that through index, okay? What do I mean by this? First, let me write up a block of code. You see the output, then I'll tell you what exactly happened over here, okay? So if I write print, then if I pass on my variable name, I think my variable name was what? My variable A, okay, A, okay, and I write 0. 0 is basically an index. It is giving me P. What is P? P is the very first element that we have in my entire block of code or block of letter, okay? Or let's say, let me use a smaller word to make things better. So let's say hello world, okay? And if I print a equals to 0, it is going to give me h. Why? Because h is the first character that we have, okay? Now what is this 0? You might ask, what is this index? Well, this is how indexing work. So you can see that these are my characters, right? H, E, L, L, O, then there is a blank space, then W, O, R, L, D, okay? So indexing start off with 0 always, you can see. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see 5 is also there. But why? Why 5 is there? There is a blank space, right? Well, blank space is also considered as a character in Python, okay? Then you have WORLD. So if you want to access some element, you can simply pass on. Let me show this to you like this. Yeah. So let's say If you pass on 3, it will give you L. You have L. If you pass on 5, it will give you blank. Why? Because of course, in the fifth, we do not have anything. It is blank, right? That's why it is going to give you a blank value. Now, this is your indexing. On the top of that, you can see something called negative index. What this means? This means that you can actually do a backward accessing in the string as well. So the last element will be considered as a negative index of -1. So if I simply print this, sorry, yeah, -1 will get D. Okay, let me place this in a different cell just for better understanding. Yeah, it will give you D, right? It will give you blank. Let's not put blank. Let's put something here. Let's say 8. So it would be R. Yeah. If you change it to let's say -3, -3 is also R. So 8 and -3, same value. See, 8 and -3 containing the same value. Okay. This is indexing and negative indexing. Okay. Clear? Now, the next one is basically substring elements. What is substring? Well, substring basically means a part of your existing string. Okay. So let's say I want to access from H to L, HEL. Okay. So you might think, okay, you might think that if I do print A equals to what is my starting point, okay, so you should always give the starting point first as an index. So 0 is my starting point, and then I want to access till 2, right? If I pass on 2, see what happens. I only get till E. Why? Well, this is something very crucial to remember, okay? So while accessing a substring, the end step, sorry, or the I would say end character precedes by 1. Okay, what does this mean? That if you want to access from the first element till the second index element, you should give 3 over here. If you pass on 3, then you will get HEL. If you pass on, let's say, 5, then you get HELL. Okay, and O also, because 4 is O, right? And 5 is basically blank. So we are not getting anything. Clear, everyone? Now, in this substring element, you have an option of adding step. Substring with steps. Okay. So what does means? It means that you can, sorry, pass on the string name, then you provide the starting point, start, end, and then you can pass on step. What do I mean by this? Let's say here, okay, let's say I'm starting from 0 and I want to end at, let's say, 3. So obviously I need to write print, what is my string name? A. From where do I want to start? I want to start from 0. And where do I want to end? I want to end at 3. So obviously I need to pass on 4, 1 plus from that. You remember, right? Okay, let me, yeah. Should I make, yeah, let me maximize the screen. Yeah, that would be better. Okay. Now, let me also maximize this so that I can swap. Yeah. So 0 to 4 start and end step, very clear. So I would be getting HELL, right? HELL. But what if I want to skip something? I want to skip this E and I want to skip this L. That simply means I want to do a step jump, right? I want to jump from this to this and from this to this, but obviously this is the last one, so it would not reflect. I will get only H and L, right? So I'm doing a step jump where I am going over to the second character instead of the first next character. Okay, we can simply pass on a step here. 2. See, I'll get only H and L. Why? Because H came along, E was skipped, L came along, this L got skipped. Then obviously O is not going to come because I want to only access item till here, right? That's why I have given till 4. So only H and L we have received. Clear everyone? How this start, end and step worked? It's fairly easy, but let me know in the comments if there is any doubt. I would love to clarify the doubts, even in comments or however you want. Okay. Now let's go back a little bit. So if you see over here what I have written, that Python strings can be declared with either single quote, double quote, or triple quote. Now, what do I mean by that? Like, why three different type of quotes are going to be required in the first place, right? So let's try to understand that. Let's say, yeah, okay. You have a variable called hello. You have a variable called b that basically contains a double quote and world. And then if you try to print a comma b, okay, it will give you hello world, right? Absolutely fine. Either it's a single quote or a double quote, it will not make any difference. Where the problem comes, if you try to provide something with multiple line, okay, then if you print this, see, there is a syntax error that comes into play. We can do the same thing with the help of a double quote, okay, and we will see the same issue coming up. So what is the fix? Multi-line strings require what? Triple quote. Okay. Now you see, if I do the same thing, c equals to hello world. Okay. Now even if I pass this on to the first line and write it like this, and if I print C, it will give you the multi-line strings perfectly. Clear? Why the difference came into play? Everyone? Okay. The next topic that we are going to understand is string formatting. So let me provide a small heading. Okay. Now, there are basically three types of string formatting that you have in place. The first one is basically a legacy method. Legacy method simply means it's pretty old and not much used, but still I would like to show this to you, which is basically f method. Okay. Then we have str dot format method, and then comes my favorite f string method. Okay. Now what are these things and how exactly this comes into play? Why these things are useful for us? Let's understand. Okay. So let's say, okay, you have a particular variable where there is a value 25, right? So let's say you want to print You want to print the value of your variable in a print statement, but along with a sentence. So something like this. The value of A is what? 25. It is being printed. But is this the right way? No, because here in the print statement, we are requiring to hard code the value. We have to manually put up the value. We don't want to do that. Why? Because this value already resides into a variable. We should be able to call the value directly from there. Okay? That's where your string formatting comes into play. Okay? Now let me show you one by one. So the very first one where we have legacy method, there is D, there is S, there is F. What does these things mean? Let me first explain this first. D stands for integer decimal. That means whenever a value is like this, like 25, okay, you will use this D method. Then we have S. What is S? S is basically string. So if your value is a character like this and not a numeric value like this, you are going to use string. Then you have your F method, where if your value is a floating number, you'll use that, okay? So as an example, like 25 string like hello and a floating point number, right? 25.50, okay? So these are the three scenarios where you would be using this 3D S and F method, right? So for our understanding, I will take three different type of value, okay? So A 25, B let's say I'm taking hello, and C I'm taking 25.50, a floating point number, okay? And let's leave this. Oh, okay. Instead of leaving, let me just put up a comment over here that this is not dynamic as we are hard coding the value. String formatting helps in fixing the same. Okay, just simple write up so that you know, if even if you're looking into the notebook few days after, you know that what this exactly stands for. Okay, now we have three particular term over here, right? So how exactly are we going to use it? Print the string value in our data is, we will pass on S. Why? Because S stands for string, integer value as D, okay? Float as F, okay? We have giving this entire thing where we are putting up a write statement. I mean, putting up a writing where I am saying that where string needs to be taken, where your decimal integer needs to be taken, and where float needs to be taken. Okay. Now all we need to do is basically our quotation is already complete. I have separated that with a comma. Now I am saying that I want to use this method, and what values do I want to call? I want to call A, B, and C, right? Let me see if our this thing is correct. So S is the string, right? String is what on what? B. So I'll call B first. Then what do we have? We have D, that is a decimal point. Where do I have decimal? I have decimal at A. Okay. So I'll call up A. Then where do I have my float? Float is the last F, and I will call up C over here. Okay. Why syntax error? Let me check one. Oh, okay. So we have passed on a comma, but it should follow directly after the your statement. There should not be a comma. Okay, yeah. So see, The string value in our data is hello, integer value as 25, float as 25.5000, whatever the floating point number they are taking. Okay, but this is a very, very confusing method, let me tell you. So we don't much use that, right? Let's go to the next one, str.format. How exactly do we use that? So print, we use that in two ways. Okay, so let me str.format methods. Okay, method one is what? Let's say print. Here you don't need to, like, provide either it's a string, decimal, or whatever is that. Whatever the value directly catches, so it's very useful for you. Okay, so I'll pass on the comma. Print, sorry, print is already given. The value of a was integer, right? Yeah, the value of a, okay, is, then you pass on a second bracket like this. Then after this you pass on a format, you simply write format, then you do what? You provide the variable name, which is basically a. It will give you the statement hello of a is 25. Okay, now sometimes what happens, you have too many variables and you are, like, you would not exactly remember what variable means what and everything. So at that point of time, here you can simply pass on a placeholder like this. So let's say, let's take a new variable. Okay, name equals to, let's say, Harry, surname equals to, let's say, Potter. Okay, and this time I'm going to use the method 2. Yeah, so here you see name and surname is fine, perfect, but what I want to do, I want to take up to placeholder over here, first name and surname. Okay, FNS, and here when I'm passing on the data, I simply going to pass f equals to name and s equals to surname. That's it. It will be printed. The name of the person is Harry Potter. Okay, we're getting the entire thing. I hope it's clear, everyone. This is also a little bit complex method. Now let me show you the best method which we always use, and I'm quite sure you will be using this method most of the times. So I have a value, let's say x equals to, let's say this is, let's say, India. Okay, y says 139. Okay, something like that. And if you want to print, all you need to do, provide a f previously, I am in a great country. Okay, then here you pass on a bracket like this. You provide directly the value x over here. X says what? This is India, right? And then the population is y. You take the y value over here, right? Billion people. Okay, then you execute this. I'm in a great country. This is India. The population is 139 billion people. Sorry, my bad. 1.39. Yeah. All right, everyone. Here you can see I did not need to, like, specify whether it's a string or it's an integer or float. Here in the print statement, I directly took up the variable name and it printed just fine. This is why this is the best possible method that you can use. Okay. Now we'll talk about multiple string functions that we have in Python and we can use them, right? So let's put up string functions. Okay, so let's say let me put up a text as a string. Let's say Python is a great programming language. Okay, something like that. And let's say I'm putting also up a name in entirely small. Let's say okay. Now text and name, I have two particular variable which contain string values. Okay, so let's go one by one. The very first one, print. I'll use f string. Okay, the length of text is, I can use this function len text. You remember in f string I directly can, like, whatever function I want to use, this is my main function, do not confuse by the entire line. Len stands for length, and for which I want to find out the length, this entire text. Okay, so if I simply print this up, the length of the text is my spelling ingth. Okay, the length of the text is 38, total 38 characters, including your blank spaces are coming into play. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 38 characters we are getting with the blank space. Clear, everyone? Now, let's say I will keep copying this. Let's say lowercase conversion. Lowercase conversion simply means I'm converting the entire text into lower cases. Okay, so I'll write txt dot lower. uh Let me do these things one by one so that you understand. Yeah, lowercase conversion of the text is, see now the entire thing. Okay, let me also put up a hyphen so that you know. Yeah, Python is a great programming language. I had these things in capital, right? P, then okay, let me put up a bit of this into capital. Yeah, now you see everything turned into small, right? In the same way, you can convert the entire thing into uppercase, and I'll simply write uppercase conversion. See, the entire thing converted into uppercase. Okay, now name. We all know that generally in the name what happens, our first name and last name are generally kept in capital, rest in small, right? So the capitalized version of name is name dot capitalize, right? Now there is a problem. See, it is only converting the first letter as a capital. It is not converting the surname. That's a problem, right? So I will write the proper capitalized version of name is, this time we're going to use something called title. Now see, both H and P turned into capital, and that's what you want, right? Both H and P to be converted into a capital one. Okay, now now we can replace elements. Okay, let's say I have Python, right? I can replace that with anything. So let's say the replaced version of the txt is, what I will do, I will simply write txt dot replace. What do I want to replace? I want to replace Python. I have Python, right? Python with, let's say, Java. See, it became Java is a great programming language. The replaced word is Python, and it became Java now. Clear, everyone? Any doubt? Then we have a split function. Split function does what? Split function gets into your string. It splits every single word as a different element, right? So if I simply do this, print the split version of the txt, okay? Then what you can do, you can simply sorry, txt dot split, okay? You can see every single element become a different element into a list. This is a Python list. Do not worry, we will cover Python list in details in our upcoming classes, right? But as of now, just see what the split did. Split segregated every single element into different section. Okay, clear, everyone? Now there is a function called starts with and ends with. So what does the starts with and ends with does? Starts with and ends with returns you a true or false value, right? So if I write txt dot starts with, okay, Python, it will return true because our txt does start with Python, right? But we pull this up in a print statement. Yeah, if I write something like C plus plus, something like that, right? It will return false. You can see it is returning me false. Why? Because my txt does not start with C++, it starts with Python, right? So it is going to give you a false. Now, let's say there is another function called count. What does the count does? Let's say the count of, okay, A, count of the letter A in the text is, how we can do that? Txt dot count of which letter? A, 5. So A has been repeated 5 times into your entire statement, entire string, right? So you are getting the particular count. Clear, everyone? Okay. All right. The next one, there is a find option over here. Find in strings. What does the find does? Find gets you the particular index of a particular element in the string. Okay, the way initially we provided index as 0, 1, 2 and got the element as output, this time it would be a reverse thing, right? So if I do print, let's say txt dot find, I want to find Python. Python is in the 0th index, the very first element, right? And if I want to find out, let's say, great, okay, so 1, 2, oh, initially was it great? Okay, so you might be a little bit confused that why this comes into play, why you are getting 12. Let me clear out the confusion. So what the find function does, I have this entire, okay, let me show this to you in Excel. Okay, so let's say you have entire thing written. Python is a great, let's say, language. So what the find function does, if you say find Python, you are providing entire substring. So Python is a substring, is a substring, a great language, right? The way we have shown that all these things are becoming separate elements, right? If we are splitting this up. So if I am trying to find Python, what my function will do, it will search that where Python word is written, and it will provide you the index of its very first element P. Okay? That's what is happening over here. If you write Python, you'll get 0. But if you write P, you'll get 0 too. But see what happens. Y is the next character, right? So if you write Y, it will give you 1. Because the first occurrence of Y is happening over here. Same thing with great. So first time G is occurring at the 12th index. Okay. So that's why it is giving 12 for the entire substring. Even if you remove this, it will continue to be 12. Okay. I hope it's clear, everyone. If not, I can understand this is a little bit confusing. Let me know in the comments. So for this individually, maybe I can make a 2-3 minutes video to make you understand. Okay. Just let me know. Yeah. If find function is not able to find a substring, right? Let's say uh, awesome is a substring that is not present. Okay. It will give you -1. It will give you -1. So -1 is nothing but a not finding indicator that we have in Python find function. Okay. This is how the find function works. Clear, everyone? Let me know. Okay. Lastly, we'll look into the input method. Okay. What is input method? Input method simply states that how you can manually input some data in your program. Okay. So it's not always possible. Let's say name, right? In the bank website, there is a form called name. Bank does not know what your name is prior you provide it to them, right? So you cannot simply hard code the name. You simply cannot say over here Tom Hanks as a name, right? Because this would be hard coding. You have a form where manually you can input the data, right? That's where input comes into play. So you write input, you, enter your name, whatever you want to say over there. Yeah, enter your name, right? Then let's say print name. See what happens. If you run this, a box come along. It's like a form, right? Where you can put up your name. So I'm putting up my name as Tom Hanks. Enter. My name is printed. Okay. Now, input method, you have to remember input method by default, everything takes in the string format. Right now we are only doing string, so I'm restricting it to this only. On our next session, when we will discuss about numbers, I will show you how you can take input as a number, right? So I think we have covered all the necessary functionalities that we have of Python strings, right? Let me know if this is useful for you, and let me know like if there is any doubt or anything, any single part where understanding was a little bit difficult. So in that order what I can do, I can simply make a small video on that particular part so that it becomes easier for you to understand. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Do subscribe. Bye.